Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second Mac training course session. Today is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, and I am your instructor, Chanel Allen. Before we get into the lesson today, I just want to remind you to check out iBUG today and everything that we're doing. We have 15 events that take place throughout the month. I'll tell you about the upcoming ones, but first, definitely go to our website, ibugtoday.org, where you can learn more about us, sign up to receive our emails, and listen to recordings of previous workshops, including the excellent cafe and watch demonstrations we had last Sunday. You can also visit Facebook, facebook.com/groups/iBugToday. And our announcements are posted there, and people ask lots of good iOS-related questions, so it's a good resource. We are also on Twitter at iBug Today, so if you want some of the latest tech info, Apple news, deals, Mac how-tos, definitely follow us, and our announcements are posted there as well. And that is about it. So for events coming up, we have our book club on Thursday. We're reading this month a book called Unorthodox by Deborah Feldman. And then Friday, we have iBug Night at the Virtual Movies, beginning at 7:30 with the social. Everybody comes in, says hi, introduces themselves, all that good stuff. And then the movie starts at 8, followed by a discussion at 10, or whenever the movie's over. And Sandhya, would you like to tell us what the movie is for this week? I did not catch it.
Yes, ma'am. It is Hotel Rwanda. So please come and let's enjoy this thought-provoking movie.
Definitely. Sounds interesting. All right. Okay, so tonight, last week we did introductions, but tonight we're going to start with the focus questions. And I did send out an updated list this afternoon because I'm going through a little bit of restructuring. I realized I had some questions in lesson 2 that probably should have been with lesson 1. So those are there. You don't necessarily need to know the answers. If you happen to remember what they are, that's great. We will go through as many as we can and then start class sometime after 7:15. Okay, so I'm just going to ask the questions, and anyone can answer. If you've already answered one, then maybe wait until other people have answered so that we can get to hear from different people. So the first one, actually, everybody would probably know. How do you toggle VoiceOver on and off? And to unmute, it's Command-Shift-A on your Mac, Alt-A on Windows, the mute button in the lower left-hand corner of your iPhone app, or *6.
This is Dorothy.
Yeah, hi, Dorothy.
Hi. May I answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, I think I do. It's Command F5.
Very good. Excellent.
Or you can use, Command F5. I
Yep,
won't tell you what I have to.
Well, I think I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not going to say what I have to do to use it, but
Oh, well, I hope you were able to figure out your keyboard. Yes, you can use Siri to turn it on or go into actually the system preferences and accessibility. And we'll be visiting that next week. All right. What is keyboard help and how do you enable it? Who would like to answer that?
Marion?
Yes, Marion. Glad you could make it.
Oh,
Hi.
Thank you. Sorry, I came in at the last minute. Keyboard help you enable with VO and the K key.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then after it's enabled, any key or combination of keys that you press that have a voiceover action will tell you what it does. And then to disable, you press escape.
Very good. Escape or VOK, or, if you're trying to learn I think we had a message last week about, an external keyboard and trying to find the keys on like a non-Apple keyboard. So it's great for, just pressing keys to find out what they do. Excellent.
Oh, and it
Okay.
does the gestures too.
Yes, you're right. Gestures. I forgot about that. Yep. All right. What are the VO keys? Who wants to answer?
This is Rosanna. The
Yes.
VO keys. The VO keys are control and yeah. Okay, I can't remember the other one. Command shift, a control key. I know it's control. Oh, alt, which would be the alt key on the Windows keyboard. I just know they're the two left keys on the end of the keyboard.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Yes, if you're using like an external or what, it's the what?
I have the Magic keyboard.
Okay, yeah, then it's the end keys, like you said, on another keyboard that, function on the internal laptop, the function is even to the left of the control key. And does anyone else remember the other VO possibility modifier that I mentioned?
This is Rita.
Tab, isn't it?
Okay, Rita, go ahead.
Caps lock.
Yes, very good. Awesome. Okay. So who can tell me what are the three main areas of the Mac screen that we talked about?
This is Dorothy.
Yeah, Dorothy, go ahead.
I can wait till someone else if they want to go. All right, so you have the...
Nancy.
Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I was in the wrong window on my...
No, that's okay.
Command Shift A is not unmuting me. Okay, now I am.
Okay.
Okay, so the three areas of the screen are the menu, which is at the top of the screen. The desktop, which is in the middle of the screen, and the dock, which is at the bottom.
All right, perfect. And the menu includes the menu bar and menu extras, which we will go into today. Okay, so who would like to tell us what you might find on the desktop?
Jason?
Jason, yes, go ahead.
Well, by default, the desktop is blank.
I'm sorry, what was that?
By default, the desktop is blank.
Yes. Very true. Does anyone else want to add to that?
This is Nancy.
Usually.
Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
I was going to say sometimes if you have a favorite app that you want to put on your desktop, you can do that, but it takes longer. It takes more memory for your desktop to load the more stuff that you put on the desktop.
Definitely. And what you actually want to put on your desktop are like shortcuts to apps or folders, not necessarily the app itself. And that's why the dock as well, and we kind of will get into that, but the desktop, you can specify in Finder as well whether you have certain drives showing on the desktop. Okay, great. And does anyone can anyone say how to get to the desktop?
This is Rita.
Rita, go ahead.
VO Shift D.
Very good.
In dog.
Yep. Awesome. All right. And how do you get to the menu bar and what does it contain?
This is Nancy.
Go ahead.
So there's two ways you can get to the menu bar. You can use VOM.
Yep.
The keyboard, and then if you want to use your trackpad, you can double tap at the top of the trackpad, and in the menu bar at the top of the screen is Apple, and then whatever app you're in, like it might be Mail or Finder, and then there's things like File, Edit, View. So whatever app you're in, the menu changes to reflect what application you're working in.
Very good. All right. Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh,
Marion?
yes, Marion.
Chanel, I'm so sorry. Going back to the last question, I actually Googled this before class and didn't find it. So you said, how do you get to the desktop? But
Mhm.
VOD is how you get to the dock.
Right. So it's VO
So,
Shift D.
oh, VO Shift D gets you to the desktop. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I missed that, Rita. Okay.
And I think there's also, I mean, there are some commands in Mission Control that might work. I have some of those off because they might not exactly. The VO commands, I think, ensure more that your VO cursor gets there, but there are
they
always
said
so many ways
Command
of.
F3, and I don't know if that works. So, okay.
Okay, great. Command
right.
F3. That's awesome. It's
Okay.
good to know a lot of different ways.
Yeah. thank you.
Okay. So what might you find on the dock? And well, first of all, how do you get there?
This is Rosanna. The dock would be VOD,
Uh-huh.
and then you would find all of your apps on there, like your mail, your messages. Trying to think what's on my dock. Some applications, I know they show up on my dock. Most everything that you're going to use for the most part seems to appear on my dock.
Definitely. Great. And if you're a trackpad user, you double tap 2 fingers at the bottom of the screen. All right. So,
Chanel?
yes.
This is Rita. I just wanted to, I found something by accident on the dock that if you option left arrow on the items on the dock, you can move them
Yes.
to alphabetical. I'm kind of compulsive, so I put stuff in alphabetical order. So
Oh, that's great.
Really? That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yes, you can use option left arrow, or I thought it was command, but okay, option. I always mix that up. Yes, it's kind of one of those things I sometimes go through in a little bit of an extra segment. But yeah, if you want to rearrange your dock, by all means do so, and it works very well. For me, since I just tend to use first letter navigation, it doesn't matter so much where the things are. But if you're using the arrow keys or whatever, then yes, it does help.
What was the
Okay.
command? It was option 3?
Option left and right arrow.
Option left and right arrow to rearrange it.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
And this is Nancy.
Yes.
Isn't there gosh, this is years ago learning. So if you're in the applications folder, is it something like Command Shift T to add an app to the dock?
Very good. Yes. Command Control Shift T. Or even if you've opened the app, let's say you've gone into the applications folder and you've opened it, it will appear in your dock. And then you can do VO Shift M, which we haven't talked about yet. That is the context menu command. And there's a command that says keep in dock. So if you select that, then that's another way to have it permanently there.
Okay.
Yep, great. Okay, so how do you enable trackpad? What?
Chanel, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last one? That Nancy did. Command.
Sure. VO Shift M.
No, the one before that. The command control.
Control Shift.
Oh.
Command.
Talking about the T control.
T. T is in
yes,
Tom.
I'm sorry. Okay, Command Control Shift T. There you go.
Sorry. Okay.
And I think it's Command Control T that will add something to the sidebar, which we'll talk about in Finder.
Okay.
But hey, these are great commands you're asking me about. We can look up in Commands Help because that's what we're going to talk about. All right. So what is the Trackpad, Commander, and how do you enable it?
This is Kim.
Yes, Kim.
So VO and a twist of the fingers to the right.
Yep.
Would turn it on.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
And left would turn it off.
Yep. and it basically allows you to use the trackpad with gestures for voiceover. So, all right. And we talked at the end. Does anyone remember the 2 ways? Well, I talked about several ways, but at least 2 ways to move between open applications.
This is Nancy.
Go ahead.
You can use Command Tab.
Yep.
And if you're using trackpad, you can swipe one finger if you're in Finder, I think it is.
Yeah, what you do is you tap 2 fingers on the left-hand side, so do a 2-finger double tap on the left, and that brings up the application chooser.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, and then you can bring up the application chooser in VoiceOver with VO F1. We kind of touched on that at the end. So, okay, are there any one of these questions I can take? We didn't get to cover them all, but is there any one that you want the answer to? Somebody wants... Yeah, go ahead. Or were you saying something, Rosanna?
No, I was just thinking of the question.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, then I'll ask another one. Does anyone remember using the keyboard? How did we navigate among items on the dock?
This is Kim.
Yes, Kim.
The left and right arrows.
Yep. Or just the left and right by themselves. Yep.
This is Rosanna. You can also use first letter navigation.
Yep.
On the dock. Or type the first 2 letters.
Yep. Very good. And if you're using the trackpad, you just flick left, flick right.
Left and left.
Yep.
Left and right.
Very good. Okay, well, that's probably all we have time for. Again, you can always, if there's any of these questions that you're struggling with in any lesson, ask on the list. And, one of us, your classmates will answer, or I will answer. And I know some of you are studying together. And so I don't have time for those study sessions, but if it's something that all of you want to do, you're welcome to coordinate that on our list. So let me just go ahead and mute. And today then we are going to talk about how to adjust the speech rate and things using the keyboard. We'll start with that. Okay.
You have started computer.
There we go. Now I have shared my sound. So one thing I meant to cover last lesson is basically how can you adjust the speech attributes quickly? Using the keyboard, it's kind of quite a fingerful. I'm just going to minimize to my desktop.
Desktop.
And,
Zoom us.
Well, I think I muted everybody. Okay. What we want to do is
Zoom us. Mute all current and unchecked.
Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. So what we want to do is hold down the arrow keys, the VO command, in one hand, the VO command, Shift, and then in the other hand, you press the right or left arrows. It's kind of a menu that loops around, so it really doesn't matter, to move to the different speech attributes. And if it's hard to hold down, VO command Shift, one thing you can do is turn on the control option lock. And that basically keeps those keys held down, so then that's, you don't need to press them. You just have to remember to turn it back on. And the way to enable that lock is VO semicolon.
Control option lock on.
So you press option control and semicolon, or caps lock and semicolon, and then the VO modifier is held down and you don't need to press it in executing whatever commands you're planning on. Okay, so if that is held down, we can move just by pressing the command and shift keys with one hand. And then the right arrow, or left arrow, really doesn't matter, but I'm just going to press right arrow.
Volume 65%.
Okay. There are two, well, I'm going to go through the other things first, and then we'll talk about volume.
Intonation, 55%.
Intonation, that's basically the amount of inflection VoiceOver uses when reading punctuation. I think some voices, such as Alex, you can definitely notice it more than others.
Braille table, English, unified system.
That is new in Big Sur. I use Braille, and I was just kind of playing
iBUG
around with that.
alias,
Oops, I
actions
accidentally
available.
released my arrow keys. But all I need to do is hold them down again. Well, I accidentally released Command and Shift. So I just press those again. My VO lock is still on, and then I'll press right arrow.
Braille table, English, unified system.
Really, any key takes you into this verbosity, or not verbosity, speech attributes rotor. It's called a rotor. Some of us were talking, there are a million rotors with VoiceOver, or it seems like there are. So this is the attributes rotor. And then we'll just continue on by pressing right arrow.
Voice, Ava, English.
I'll show you some of the voices I have downloaded. When we go into the VoiceOver utility later today, I'll talk about how you can download voices. But for now, I'll just press the up arrow.
Arthur Siri, English.
Still holding down Command and Shift.
Alison English. Aaron Siri English.
Automatically select based on language.
If you choose automatically select based on language, you will have VoiceOver sometimes speaking things in a totally different language, or maybe not so much, but with the voice of a language. So you might come across some Spanish on a website. Well, you'll hear this Spanish accented voice speaking that, and it might be a little hard to understand. So you might not want to have automatically select based on language. So you'll want to press the down arrow, still holding down all these other keys to get to that.
Aaron Siri English. Alison English. Arthur Siri.
Ava, English.
Fiona English.
Karen, English.
Leona Siri English. Maeve Siri English. Martha Siri English. Nora Siri English.
And so I'm just
Olive
pressing
English.
down arrow,
Samantha English.
still holding down these keys.
Susan, English.
Tom English.
Bina English.
Vicky English. Vicky
You'll notice I don't have Alex. I don't really care for him all that much. I'll use him sometimes.
Bina
But
Susan, Samantha.
Olive.
Nora
Going
Martha
back
Siri.
to
Maeve Siri.
Ava.
Leona Siri.
Karen, Fiona, Ava, English.
all right, and I'll continue. This time I'm still holding down those keys with my left hand, and then I'll press right arrow.
Rate, 50%.
Okay, rate. To increase, I can press the up arrow key. So up to increase, down to decrease.
55%. 60%. 65%.
And unfortunately, there's quite a bit of delay between when I press these keys and when VoiceOver actually says something. So adjusting speech attributes on the fly, so to speak, is not the fastest process. I'll go back down
60%.
to 50.
55. 50%. Pitch, 45%.
Okay, pitch. I'm just going to leave that where it is.
Volume, 65%.
All of these are up to increase and down to decrease. There are
Closing. iBUG.
two main volumes on your computer.
Actions
There's
available.
the system volume, and then there's the VoiceOver volume. And you actually adjust those independently. Unfortunately, the VoiceOver volume only goes as loud as your system volume. So you can't make it louder than, let's say, any music or TV or whatever that you might be playing on your Mac. But you can turn on something called audio ducking, which will duck the sounds of other apps while VoiceOver is speaking. I don't like audio ducking because it seems to even try to duck Mac sounds, which then it kind of sounds like the VoiceOver speech is being ducked. So I don't turn it on that often unless I'm trying to listen to something else in addition to VoiceOver. We'll talk about how to adjust the system volume. There are several ways. You can either use the F11 and F12 keys, or depending upon the behavior of your function keys, as with me, I'd press FN, F12 to raise my volume. And it kind of makes a sound as it's being raised. It doesn't increase, but
Dropbox. iBUG alias.
and I don't know, it
Actions
doesn't seem
available.
to be decreasing on my but if it's too loud for you, let me know. You can also use the VO keys and the dash to lower the volume, the plus or equals rather to raise it. And then we can also go into sound preferences or the menu extras and control center, which we will talk about now. So just remember, if you want to actually try to adjust VoiceOver more than the system volume, you'll want to use the trackpad or your rotor, the speech attributes rotor, where you hold down all those keys, Command, VO, Shift in one hand, and then use the arrow keys to get to the volume and up to increase or down to decrease, or using the trackpad. Okay, I'm going to turn my VoiceOver lock off. I almost forgot it was on.
Control Option lock off.
All right, now it's off. So let's talk about the menu extras or status menus. And those are part of the menu bar or sort of, but you still have to get to them by pressing VOM twice. So getting to the menu bar, you just press VOM. The status menus are VOMM. So hold down my VO key and press M twice, or type M twice.
Menu extras. Tuesday 1926.
And then you
Clock,
VO
menu extra.
right. This is the one area in the menu bar, the dock. I said it's fine to use just the arrow keys by themselves. In menu extras, you actually do need to use the VO key and the arrows. And for some reason, mine is at the end.
Tuesday 19.
So I'm going to
26.
do VO
Clock, menu.
home. And for those of you with the laptop keyboard, that would be VO FN left arrow. But on my external, it's just the VO home.
Zoom us. Menu extra.
And so then I'll use the VO right to show you my, or go through the items on the menu extras.
Dropbox 112.4.321 up to date. 1 password 7. CCC user agent. Menu
Some
extra.
of these are apps for apps that I have installed on my Mac.
Do not disturb. Menu extra.
Do not disturb should be enabled. And if I didn't, well.
Time machine. Menu accessibility shortcuts. Menu extra.
You can have
AirDrop. Menu extra.
accessibility, time machine. There's lots of things you can include in menu extras. And next week, when we go into system preferences, we will specify what is in the menu bar and what's in the control center.
Text input menu agent. Bluetooth menu extra. Keyboard brightness menu extra. Battery 100%. Wi-Fi connected 3 bars menu extra. Search control center menu extra.
So there's the actual control
Search
center.
Wi-Fi connected 3
If
bars
I was
menu
to
extra.
press VO space on Wi-Fi,
application control center system dialog
or Bluetooth or some of these other things, it brings up the control center. Before Big Sur, it would bring up a menu where I could select a network or select a device. But now it brings up the control center. So you're almost better off going there rather than spending time going to menu extras.
heading personal hotspots. Channels
and so
iPhone,
this is my
personal hotspot,
Wi-Fi.
Kirby's iPhone, heading, preferred networks, fuzzy logic 5G, secure network, 3 bars, selected, toggle button.
Okay, and formerly the Mac would actually tell you, or VoiceOver would tell you, when you went past the Wi-Fi menu, you know, what you were connected to, but it doesn't do that until you actually look at some of these things. Okay, I'm going to press Escape.
Finder.
Now let's talk about the menu extras. In Big Sur, we now have a keyboard shortcut for accessing the notification center. And we'll go into that maybe some other time. And that is VO and the letter O. Excuse me, the control center is VO Shift O. And we will look for that a little bit later, but for now I'm just telling you it's VO Shift O.
Application, control center, system dialog, music app, Wi-Fi, selected, toggle button, music app.
Okay,
Actions
for some
available.
reason it's saying Wi-Fi, music app, whatever that means.
Wi-Fi,
But
selected, toggle button.
I did VO left and we heard a little thunk, so we're at the first item. If I VO right...
Do not disturb, selected, toggle button.
So I did
Actions
turn on
available.
Do Not Disturb. I used Siri for that, but I could have just as easily come to the control center and did VO space on Do Not Disturb, and then it would say
Do not
selected.
disturb. Selected. Bluetooth. Selected. Toggle button.
Bluetooth.
Actions available.
If I wanted to connect to a Bluetooth device, I could press VO space, and that's all well and good. But then I'd turn Bluetooth off, which would disable this external keyboard, and then we'd have a bit of a delay as I went to connect it. So instead of doing VO space, I'm going to use the command, which is VO command space, and that's to bring up additional actions. This command was available in previous Mac OS versions, but I was kind of aware of it. Now I find more occasions to actually use VO command space, and it is the Voiceover Actions command. So VO command space are the 3 keys immediately to the left of your space bar, or caps lock, command space, whatever.
Actions menu 2 items.
And then we have 2 items. So if I can do down arrow or VO down,
show details.
doesn't matter.
Press.
All right, show details,
Show
which
details.
we probably want because pressing would turn it off. So I'm going to VO space on show details.
Top vertical Bluetooth checked checkbox.
I'm sure
Actions
I can
available.
enter there as well. Now we actually have a checkbox for Bluetooth.
Heading devices. Magic keyboard with numeric keypad. Selected. Toggle button.
And then it actually tells me, okay, the Magic Keyboard with numeric keypad is selected, so that must be connected.
Chanel's AirPods number 2, toggle button. Chanel's
And all
AirPods
these other
Pro,
devices
toggle button.
are
Chanel's
not
iPhone,
selected.
toggle button. Magic keyboard with numeric keypad,
We
toggle
could go to the end with VO end.
Bluetooth preferences button.
And go into Bluetooth
Actions
preferences, and that is where you would go to add a Bluetooth device. If you want more help on that, ask in Mac and Talk. Unfortunately, there's just so many things that we don't have an opportunity to cover in this class. But if you need help, ask at Mac and Talk. So I'm going to press Command Q, or not.
Finder.
Maybe
desktop.
I'll just press Escape. Sometimes when Command Q doesn't work, then you press Escape. And with some of these new menus in Big Sur, I forget which to use, but no problem. If one doesn't work, I just try the others. The other thing I'll show you quickly is
Application.
sound.
Control center.
So,
Sys do not disturb. Select Wi-Fi. Selected. Toggle button.
it remembered,
Actions
okay, well, it
available.
didn't remember that we were on Bluetooth,
Do not
but that's
disturb.
okay.
Bluetooth. AirDrop. Selected. Top keyboard brightness button. Screen mirroring. Toggle 14%. Display brightness slider.
So
Actions
you can
available.
come here to turn off the display, or not turn off, but decrease it. That can also be accomplished with the function keys. But if you
14%. Display
don't
bright.
want to use the function keys.
56.2%. Sound volume slider.
And so
Actions
here
available.
is another way to adjust the sound volume. If I interact,
14%. 56.2%. Sound volume slider. Actions
anything
available.
that says slider or adjustable is something to interact with. So VO shift down
In
arrow,
slider.
and then I might use VO left to
56.2.
decrease,
51.2%.
or VO right to increase.
56.2%.
And there we go. Then I could just press escape.
Finder.
So there are so many things in the control center, the menu extras. You could spend lots of time exploring or adding things or moving things, whatever the case may be. But for now, I want to talk about Voiceover Help. I've thrown lots of commands at you, a lot of VO commands. And so because of that, I want you to be able to have a way of looking them up. And so does Apple, because it provides commands help and the VoiceOver user guide. But first, we'll just go into the help menu with VOH.
Voiceover help menu 5 items.
Down arrow.
User guide control option question mark.
The user guide is a bit quirky to navigate. It'll make a little bit more sense when we talk about Safari.
Commands help menu control option HH.
We have commands help, which we're going to come back to.
Keyboard help control option K.
We've spent some time there.
Sound help menu.
Sound help, I'll press right arrow to expand the menu. Or you could press VO space, but on menus within menus or submenus in the menu bar, you can always press right arrow to expand.
Sound help menu 75 items. Actions available.
And so basically what VoiceOver is telling you is it's playing the sound and then what that sound corresponds to.
Animation shaking. Announcement basic alert. Application updated an item. Attachment begin. Attachment end.
And so maybe some people want to set their voiceover so it just emits sounds for most things or for some things rather than speaking the words all the time. That's one way to speed up voiceover. So it can be helpful to know the sounds that it makes.
Auto-corrected. Boundary reached. Braille display connected. Braille display disconnected. Braille key memorization failed.
And there's lots of these to go through. I'm not going to do that now. So to collapse or close a menu within a menu, in other words, a submenu, then we press left arrow.
Voiceover Help menu on, Sound Help menu.
And then if I down arrow,
Quick Start Tutorial Control Option FN Command 8.
You may have gone through that last week. Okay.
Quick Start Tutorial Control Option.
That is the help menu. I'm going to press escape.
iBUG alias.
Because I want to talk about commands help. We could have found it. We could have pressed up arrow to get back to it. But I want you to try to remember the shortcut for commands help, which is VOHH. So holding down the VO key or keys and typing H twice.
Commands help menu 16 items.
Okay. The amount of items in your commands help menu will vary based on which voiceover commanders you have enabled. I did give some optional readings about the voiceover commanders and kind of what they are. Basically, the Trackpad Commander, the Keyboard Commander, all of these allow you to extend the functionality of voiceover. I may have explained that last week. So for example, going to the dock can be accomplished with VOD, or a two-finger double tap at the bottom, or even a key on the numpad. You could even create a keyboard command to go to the dock. So the commanders just increase the number of ways you can do something on the Mac with VoiceOver. Okay, but for now, we are going to look at commands help. And as I said, the amount of menus in here will vary based on which commanders you have enabled.
General menu.
The first category is general. Basically, I press down arrow once, whether you are in a menu in the menu bar or in these voiceover menus. Pressing down arrow once opens the menu or focuses you on the first item.
Information menu, navigation menu, text menu, web menu, find menu, tables menu, size and position menu, audio menu, braille menu, visuals menu, speech menu, hotspots menu, numpad commander menu, keyboard commander menu, trackpad commander menu.
Oh, that is so funny. Okay. I was trying to get it to show Trackpad Commander this last week, and for some reason today it shows, so go figure, even though my trackpad was on. Okay, I've been using the Mac and, I'm learning more of what I'm doing, but sometimes it is just quirky, and there's no rhyme or reason. So if something messes up or doesn't quite go the way you think, don't feel bad.
Trackpad Commander menu.
So if we wanted to explore, for example, the Trackpad Commander, I could press right arrow. And again, this is a menu within commands help, so right arrow expands the menu.
Trackpad Commander menu 38 items.
And then down arrow will get me to the first item.
Describe item in VoiceOver cursor triple tap. Escape two-finger scrub. Go to dock two-finger double tap bottom. Go to menu bar two-finger double tap top. Move down flick down. Move left flick left. Move right flick right. Move to item under finger touch. Move up flick up.
And you could keep exploring those. General is also an excellent category to explore. If I was to press the delete key or backspace,
16 items, general menu.
That takes me to the beginning. And then I could right arrow.
General menu 78 items, 41 items. Describe position of item.
Okay, I did not mean to press
actions, control
a key,
option,
but,
command, space. Actions can add pronunciation. Bring window to front control. Click mouse control. Close window control. Describe position of item in VoiceOver cursor control option FN command 2 commands help menu 1 general menu.
Yeah, that was the general menu. So there's lots of things to do. So basically, I'm going to ask about the purposes of commands help. The first purpose is just kind of to learn what's available, learn what you can do with VoiceOver. When I was learning the Mac, sometimes I would be trying to look through the menus to find a certain command, and maybe I didn't find exactly what I wanted, but I'd learn that all these other commands existed. And even if I didn't remember the keyboard shortcuts, I could at least later on say, okay, I think this thing was mentioned somewhere, so where do I find that? And I learned that then I could find some of these things in Commands Help. So the first purpose is just learning what's available or exploring a category of related items. The next purpose is to actually search for a command, and related to that, to carry out a command. For example, if we search for, as far as searching, I'll do VOHH.
Commands Help menu 16 items.
And let's type control for control center. So C.
172 items. Actions control option command space.
As I'm typing, the number of commands will become more limited. I'll type O.
24 items. Copy last phrase.
N,
9 items. Find next control.
T,
9 items. Find next control option command J.
It's I don't think we can narrow any more than that, so I'll just press down arrow.
Find previous control option command shift J. Next content. Open control center control option shift O.
Open control center, and then we could press enter. So you could either press escape and then try to do the command on your own, which sometimes I have done just to try to get the finger memory, or I can press enter to carry it out.
Application, control center, system dialog.
Or execute,
music
as they might
app,
say.
Wi-Fi selected.
Okay, I'm going to press escape.
Finder, desk.
There are maybe commands that don't have a keyboard shortcut associated immediately. So if I do VOHH
Commands Help menu 16 items
and type rate R
238 34 items 2 items decrease rate,
and there we go. So rather than having to hold down the VO keys and the command and shift in one hand and use the arrow keys in the other, you could just simply come into Commands Help and type rate, and then you'd either
increase
have
rate, decrease rate,
decrease or increase. The disadvantage would be you'd have to come in here and type it in for every time you wanted to decrease, or to decrease by 5%, and let's say you wanted to take it down from 50 to 25%, you'd have to come in here 5 times, which might be a little bit tedious, but that is available.
45%.
All right, so we increased it to 45. One way I have tried to speed up the process for myself is by creating commands in Keyboard Commander. So to increase my rate, I can just press Option 2.
50%.
And that is a command I created to increase the rates. I wouldn't have to hold down all those keys. Okay, so Commands Help, you can basically search for commands and then, oh, that's right. Let's look up the commands.
Voiceover Help menu 5 items.
We were talking about how to add apps to the dock. So let's see if we can find that. I can't remember. So if we down arrow, because I only pressed VOH once, or I guess I could press it again.
Commands Help menu 16 items.
And now let's try to type dock. So D.
209 items. At 28 items. Double click map. 1 item. Go to dock control option D. Go to dock control option D.
So that tells me how to go to the dock, and that's a keyboard command. Then it must not be a voiceover command. Sometimes I forget, but in general, what commands you can't find in here. If you wanted to look at how to open a new window or create a new folder or save a file, print, all those begin with Command N, Command Shift N, Command S, Command P. Any commands that begin with the Command key are not going to be found in VoiceOver Commands Help. And I should realize, if they don't, I guess the commands for adding to the dock and sidebar, like Control and Command, so won't be in there either. So any Mac shortcuts beginning with the Command key and not having the VO keys attached will probably not be in Commands Help. And that's where you can go into Mac Help. I think your reading assignment covers that. We don't really have time now, so because I want to move on to adjusting the behavior of function keys and then talking about the VoiceOver utility. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we have about a half an hour. So I'm going to go to System Preferences. There are a few ways. Next week, we will go more into specific aspects of System Preferences. But for now, I'm just going to go to the dock. So VOD,
Mail,
SY,
System
enter.
Preference, Finder, System preferences.
Oops. All right, and my eager little finger was accidentally cut off the speech. So we are in the toolbar. That is generally what happens. Your cursor is usually placed in the toolbar whenever you open an app, or many apps at least. System preferences is technically considered an app. There's a toolbar in Mail, Messages, Text Edit, and lots of different areas. So what you would do if you want to actually get to the items in the toolbar, you would press VO Shift down arrow to interact. If you want to get past the toolbar, you would press VO right arrow.
System preferences. Image. Chanel Allen.
And
Chanel Allen.
didn't actually...
Apple ID, iCloud, Media and App Store.
Okay, so these are actually other items to the right of the toolbar. You might not know that if coming to System Preferences for the first time. Another thing you can do is press the Tab key, but sometimes that will actually take you through a toolbar. So if you want to definitely avoid it, then just use VO right arrow. I'm going to show you a quick way that I just discovered or rediscovered for how to quickly access some of the system preferences. Well, actually, you can access any of them.
Chanel
So
Allen.
if I go back to the toolbar.
Image. System preferences. Zoom button. Minimize. Zoom tool. System toolbar.
Oh, there we go. Which, when you open the app, you'll probably be there by default. So you wouldn't even have to do any VO arrowing around. You can just do VO Shift down arrow to interact.
4 items. Back button dimmed.
And so these are some of the buttons we have in the toolbar. Back, which is dimmed because we don't really have anything to go back to.
Forward button dimmed.
Forward, same thing.
Show all menu button.
Show all. If I press down arrow.
Menu. Accessibility.
And then
Customize accessibility.
We get to all of the different system preferences categories. I tried pressing space and VO space on the show all, but it did not like either of those. So you have to press down arrow. Maybe because it says menu button, or sometimes you can get into menus with the down arrow, or pop-up menus. So there's always, you would think, okay, you need to press VO space. That opens a button, that activates a button, but not always. So it seems like with the Mac, if there's a rule to be broke, it will be. So there are no absolutes on the Mac, it seems. All right, down arrow.
Apple ID. Battery.
And so now we see all these categories. They're not in the row they're not in the order that they would be in the app if you were using VO Right or Tab, but you have them in alphabetical order, which is awesome. So then all I need to do, I know the function key behavior that or what we're looking for is under keyboard, so I can just press K.
Keyboard.
And then press Enter.
Show all menu button.
And then I can VOJ. VOJ jumps to different content areas on the screen. And sometimes it can be faster than uninteracting and then reinteract, VO right and reinteracting. So VOJ is a great shortcut. Except my VoiceOver doesn't want to let me use it here. No problem. I'll do uninteract.
Out of toolbar.
And then VOJ or not.
Keyboard.
All right. How about VO right? I don't always remember where I can and can't use something. That is the tricky thing with the Mac. So if what I expect doesn't work, then I know, okay, well, VOJ didn't work for me there. So what are the other options I have left? I have VO right arrow or I have Tab, and I tried VO right, and that happened to work. So sometimes figuring out what to do with VoiceOver is a process of elimination.
Keyboard selected Tab 1 of 5.
Okay, and what we want is in keyboard.
Text Tab 2 of shortcuts.
So we will
Tab input source dictation Tab
continue
5 of 5.
on. Now it's quite a ways through this dialog to actually find what we're looking for. I happen to know the first thing is touch or the touch bar. So if I do VoiceOver find, that's VOF, Control Option F, or caps lock F. It's not exactly the same as a regular find because if you were to just use Command F, that may not take you exactly to the item on screen. So that's why it's useful to use VOF, which is Control Option F or Caps Lock F.
Enter search text. Previous search.
And here I'll type touch, Touch.
Touch bar shows.
There we go. This is the first option related to the touch bar or the function row. There's some options related to function row just for external keyboard users, but for now, and actually even on the MacBook Air, you might not even have the touch bar options. You might just have use F1, F2, etc. keys as standard function keys. But for now, if you are using a touch bar, we landed on that word, so now I'll VO right.
F1, F2, etc. keys. Pop-up button.
Okay.
Touch bar shows.
I am VO left to be reminded of what we were actually on.
Desktop,
So,
setup files,
okay,
alias,
why did
system
that do that
preferences.
to me? My keyboard is jumpy.
Touch
Okay.
bar shows.
Touch bar shows and
F1, F2, etc. keys. Pop-up button.
we can do VO space or space
Menu
here.
check mark.
Doesn't
F1,
matter.
F2, etc. keys.
Yours may say control strip or expanded control strip. I want mine to show the F1 through F12 keys. Why? When I'm using my laptop keyboard, I don't want to hold down the FN key to carry out voiceover functions like, for example, VOF1 is the application chooser, F2 is the window chooser, F3, F4, and F5 tell me the positions of my different cursors, VO, mouse, and keyboard, and you can do other things to route them together. That's really only necessary if you don't have things set in a certain way in navigation, or if you're in some clunky, not very accessible app where you have to do some weird navigation. But VOF6 can tell you what is selected in VoiceOver. Even some other apps, I was in Teams today and learning that Command F6, or I think it's Command F6, can take me to the different content areas. And so then if I had it set to the regular control strip, I'd have to press Command FN and F6, or Command FN and then, and the number 6 on the number row. So I like to avoid that. But your other options.
Quick actions. Check mark. F1, F2, etc. keys.
So that's what I have chosen by default.
Quick actions. Spaces. App controls. Expanded control strip.
But I believe the default option was actually expanded control strip, but I changed it.
Check mark. F1, F2, etc.
All right,
keys.
I'm just going to press escape to exit
F1,
the menu.
F2, press FN key 2. Start dictation. Press FN twice. Pop-up button.
And here we can adjust the key that is used to do dictation. We'll talk more about dictation next week.
Press and hold FN key 2. Show control strip. Pop-up button.
All right, so when I press, if you remember when we were going in Keyboard Help last week, I pressed the FN key while sliding my finger along the touch bar, and we were hearing brightness down, brightness up, mission control, volume, all these different things. And so that is when I held down the FN key and slid my finger across the control strip. And
Press
so that
show
is
control strip. Pop-up button. Press and hold FN key 2. Show control.
so this is the behavior we designate when we press the FN key. Yours might be set to show the F1 through F12, and in that case, you'd have to press the FN key to carry out some voiceover commands.
Menu check mark. Show control strip.
So that's what I chose.
Show quick actions. Show spaces. Show app controls. Check mark. Show control strip.
There was probably F1 through F12 here, but since the other option is for F1 through F12, then it's probably not showing in this menu.
Show control strip. Pop-up. Use F1, F2, etc. keys as standard function keys on external keyboards. Check.
Use F1, F2, etc. keys as
Show
standard.
Use F1, F2, etc. keys as standard function keys on external keyboards. Checked. Checkbox.
And for those of you using a MacBook Air, it may not say on external keyboards. It just may say use F1, F2, etc. as standard function keys. And I have that checked. So in other words, then even on my external keyboard, I would only hold down the FN key to adjust my volume or brightness. but I don't need to hold it down to go to the Voiceover utility or find out what text is selected or whatever the case may be. So if you don't want to have to press FN to carry out voiceover commands, then definitely have this checked. If you would rather, if you think you would rather adjust VO command or adjust your volume, if you'd rather adjust your volume by just pressing F12 and F11 and whatever, then you might want to have this option unchecked. I know it sounds confusing. Hopefully it won't be. And the VoiceOver manual actually talks about this as well. I think some of your Apple Vist reading does. Okay. I'm going to press escape. Well, not escape. I'm going to press Command Q for now.
Finder, desktop, set up files, alias.
And we are going to go into the VoiceOver utility. The VoiceOver utility is basically the settings app for VoiceOver. You can set lots of different things from the speech rate, pitch, some of those things we already did, how much info VoiceOver speaks, set up Braille displays.
Set up files.
Oops. Okay, so we'll do VOF8. VOF8 takes you to the VoiceOver utility.
Opening VoiceOver Utility, VoiceOver Utility, window, Utility Categories, table, General. Selected has keyboard focus.
General. We'll just look at some of the options here. Now, notice it did say table. If I go away from
Finder,
it.
Zoom us. VoiceOver Utility, window, Utility Categories, table, General. Selected.
Okay, what this actually is a list of categories. A list, and then the options that are in those categories are on the right. Many times you're told that you need to interact with tables. Well, if it's just this list, then you probably don't need to. At least you don't in the VoiceOver utility or in areas of system preferences like accessibility options. That's just a standard list that's labeled as a table. So you don't need to interact unless you want to. But the advantage with not interacting is I can just VO right.
Speak the following greeting after login. Welcome to macOS. VoiceOver is on. Content
And some
selected,
people
greeting,
choose their
text.
greeting to be a quote. I have tried to just clear the text out, but it eventually comes back up. So it has to have something there in that field.
Display welcome dialog when VoiceOver starts. Unchecked. Checkbox.
The welcome dialog is basically where VoiceOver says, to learn how to use VoiceOver, press, or if you already know how to use VoiceOver, press the V key now. That is not on by default.
Keys to use as the VoiceOver modifier. Control Option or Caps Lock. Keys to use as the VoiceOver modifier. Pop-up
All right.
button.
Remember, I said that your VoiceOver modifier is generally set to use either Control Option or Caps Lock. Well, you can choose. If you'd rather use one exclusively, you can choose that in this menu. So I'll press space.
Menu check mark. Control Option or Caps Lock. Control plus Option or Caps Lock.
And then down arrow to our other choice.
Control Option. Control plus Option.
Down arrow again.
Caps Lock. Caps Lock.
So you could set the VO modifier just to be Caps Lock or just to be Control and Option.
Check mark. Control Option or Caps Lock. Control plus Option or Caps Lock.
Or the default is
Control Option
Control Option or Caps Lock.
Portable preferences off. Portable preferences off. Setup button.
Okay, portable preferences. That allows you to basically take your VoiceOver preferences, put them on a removable drive, and then plug that drive into another Mac, and you basically have all your VoiceOver settings the way you want them. There's also a way to export your preferences as kind of like a way to back them up. Unfortunately, iCloud doesn't seem to back up your VoiceOver preferences, but you can back them up manually. So that is done actually in the File menu. But if you actually VO space or space
Portable
on
preferences Setup button.
Setup, then you're asked to choose a drive to save the preferences.
Portable allow VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple Script checked checkbox.
Allow VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple Script. if you want to use the keyboard commander for something like hearing the time, which is right option T, that involves an Apple script. The keyboard command basically loads an Apple script. And so that's why you would need to have
Allow voiceover to be controlled with Apple script checked checkbox.
allow voiceover to be controlled with Apple script checked. Another option is getting the unread message count in mail. So it's a good idea to have this checked if you want to use some things in Keyboard Commander.
Help button.
All right, that is the end of the general. So I'm going to press VO Home
Toolbar.
and VO Right to get
Voiceover Utility. Utility categories table.
VO Right
General.
again.
Selected.
Now I will down arrow.
Verbosity.
Verbosity. Verbosity is basically how much info VoiceOver speaks, when, how, what, where, why, all that good stuff. And there's 5 categories here, so I'll VO right.
Speech selected tab 1 of
We
5.
have speech.
Braille tab 2. Text tab 3. Announcements tab. Hints tab 5 of 5.
Okay, speech.
Default speech verbosity. Medium. Default speech
You can set
verbosity.
a
Pop-up
default
button.
here. I have mine on medium. Yours may be set to high. And there's another way to set this as well by pressing VO and the letter V. And that's so we can toggle on how much punctuation VoiceOver speaks. What about how much of the attributes of text, like the font, bolding, whatever, and some other things, which you can adjust here in this more extensive verbosity area, or you can adjust with VOV, which we'll do in text edit. But for now, we can just set a general level of verbosity.
Default medium. Default menu
So
space.
you either
medium.
have medium,
Low.
or low,
High.
or high. Low is not always the best because it doesn't tell you if you're on, let's say, a checkbox or a button. It might read the words, but it might not, or say the link, button, checkbox, whatever after. You can customize some of these though. And like I said, some things can make a sound. Rather than say the word link, you could have a sound to indicate that there's a link.
Medium. Default speech verbosity. Pop-up button.
If we VO right,
Additional speech verbosity options expanded. Disclosure triangle.
here you can customize what VoiceOver speaks, how it indicates to you a button, a control, a scroll area, whatever, what the order of the info that's spoken. So whether, for example, a checkbox, it could say the state first, like checked or unchecked, or it could say it after. So you could really get into some fancy stuff there. I'm not going to go into that.
Medium.
But you can explore
Default
that.
speech verbal hints tab. Announcement text. Braille tab 2. Speech selected.
Braille is the same thing. You can set a default verbosity level or customize it.
Braille tab 2 of 5. Text tab 3 of 5.
Text. This deals with punctuation. We can just VO space
Selected.
to look through some of the items here.
Announcements tab 4.
Many of the
Text selected tab.
text items will be covered in the VoiceOver verbosity rotor, which is VOV.
Announcement hints tab. Punctuation. Some punctuation pop-up button.
You have different punctuation levels. Unfortunately, the most level was taken out of the Mac, I want to say 2 or 3 systems ago. So you either
Menu
have
check mark. Some. None. All modified.
or
Not check mark. Some. All.
I tried to play with modifying the punctuation. You can also do that in iOS. And I have deleted my group, all modified, several times, but it keeps coming back. So sometimes iCloud really does like to hold on to things. So you could basically customize for parentheses. Does it say left paren or
Customize
left
ellipse.
parenthesis? Or,
This.
for the pound sign, does it say pound, hash, whatever? You can specify those types of things.
All modified. Custom. All.
But I'm just going to leave it
Check
on
mark, some.
some, where it is. So I'll just press
Some.
escape.
Punctuation. Repeated punctuation. First 3 times. Repeated punctuation. Pop-up.
So if there's a series of stars or underscores on a line, as with many screen readers, you can specify that maybe it only says the first 3 or however many.
While typing speak. Words. While typing, speak pop-up button.
You can have characters, words, characters and words, or
When
nothing.
moving the cursor, speak text the cursor passes. When moving the cursor, pop-up button. Menu
This
check mark.
is
Speak,
the same as on the iPhone.
speak text to the right of the cursor. Check mark. Speak text the cursor passes.
And so
speak
it's a
text
little bit
the cursor
different when
passes.
you're, talking about editing. So when you do like right arrow, VoiceOver speaks the text the cursor passes. So let's say you're on the word, I don't know, more, you right arrow and you are to the right of the letter M. We'll talk more about that in text edit.
When text attributes change, do nothing. When text attributes change, pop-up button.
You can have it speak, play sound, do
When
nothing.
encountering a misspelled word, speak attributes. When encountering a misspelled word,
Same
pop-up
with
button.
misspelled words.
When encountering a link/attachment, speak. When encountering a link/attachment, read numbers as words. Read numbers as
you can
pop-up
specify
button.
how numbers are read.
When reading a capital letter, speak cap. When reading a capital letter, pop-up button.
Yours might say raise pitch. I don't like VoiceOver doing that or any screen reader, so I have it speak cap.
When deleting text, change pitch. When deleting text, pop-up button.
That I don't mind because it, I think, sometimes speaks in a lower pitch.
Append phonetic pronunciation to single characters unchecked. Checkbox.
Append phonetic pronunciation to single characters. This is available in some screen readers by default, but on the Mac, it actually says the pronunciation right away. So I have it unchecked.
Help button.
All right, and we've reached the end of the text options.
Toolbar. Voiceover Utility. Speech. Braille. Text. Announcements. Tab.
Okay,
4 of 5.
announcements. We'll go in
Selected.
here real quick.
Hints
And
tab. Announce when mouse cursor enters a window. Unchecked. Checkbox.
that's more maybe for a sighted person if you're trying to use the mouse and VoiceOver.
Announce when a modifier key is pressed. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Maybe you are struggling to remember which is the command key, which is the option key. So as you press those keys, VoiceOver can announce them if that option is checked.
Announce when the caps lock key is pressed. Checked. Checkbox.
Same with caps lock. And if you use caps lock for your VO modifier, then to actually set caps lock on, you press it twice, or to turn caps lock off, you press it twice. And yes, sometimes caps lock can accidentally get held down, and then you might be entering things in caps, or maybe VO doesn't function correctly, but that does not happen very often.
Speak header when navigating across a table row. Checked. Check. Automatically speak text in dialog boxes. Checked. Checkbox. When status text changes under VoiceOver cursor. Play tone. When status text changes under VoiceOver cursor. Pop-up button.
I think the status text refers to percentages, things like that, but I don't know.
When progress indicator changes under VoiceOver cursor.
Well, I guess that's progress indicator.
Play
so.
tone. When progress indicator changes under VoiceOver.
If VoiceOver's, speaking too much information rapidly, it can't seem to catch up with itself, you might want to come and check or uncheck some of these boxes, particularly uncheck.
When
or
progress
make it,
indicator changes under VoiceOver cursor. Play tone. When progress
or rather
indicator
have it
when
play a
play
tone.
tone. When status text change play when progress in play when number of rows change under VoiceOver cursor. Do nothing. When number of rows change under VoiceOver cursor. Pop-up button.
Another option in all these menus is do nothing. So sometimes you'll enter a table and VoiceOver might randomly announce or might somehow be thinking that rows are being added or removed or whatever when they're not. And so some people have found that do nothing is a good option to use.
When system dialogues are displayed. Play tone. When system dialogues are displayed. Pop-up button.
So these would be like, dialogues for updating. The same thing. Remember last week I mentioned how VO F1 not only shows you the open applications, but shows you if there are system dialogues open. And that is not shown if you just press Command Tab. So occasionally, if your computer's being weird, pressing VO F1 once in a while is good. But this option is for, does it speak those system dialogues immediately?
When play tone. When system dialog menu check mark. Play tone. Speak and play tone.
I might want it to actually do both. So I press VO space, I press down arrow, and then I'll press enter.
Speak and play tone. Speak size and position in inches. Speak size and position in pop-up button.
And there's
millimeters.
Points. Or points.
Check mark inches. Speak text under mouse after delay. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Again, I think this is more visually, if you are using the mouse, so I wouldn't worry about adjusting
0 seconds. Speak text under mouse after delay slider.
the speak text under mouse after
Short.
delay.
Long help button.
And there we go. That is the end of announcements.
Toolbar.
Finally, hints. If you change anything in VoiceOver Verbosity, the most important item to change might be the hints.
Voiceover Utility speech, braille, text, announce, hints, tab, 5 of 5.
And I'll press VO space
Selected.
to choose that tab. Basically, with hints are those things, let's say you land on, for example, this hints tab. It might say, press VO space to activate. Or if you're on the desktop, it'll say you are in a group. To interact with this group, those are the hints. And they might help you, but sometimes they might give you too much information. For example, it's not entirely necessary, well, it really isn't necessary at all to interact on the desktop. So I recommend having the hints off, especially because you can use VO Shift N when there is a hint available to find out what you might need to do. Because the problem is, just as you're figuring out what to press, the hint comes on. And so then it might throw you off a little bit. So I recommend turning hints off.
Speak instructions for using the item in the voiceover cursor unchecked. Checkbox.
So speak instructions for using the item in the voiceover cursor. That is what I would recommend turning off or having unchecked. Uncheck speak.
Speak instructions for using the item in the voiceover.
For using the item in the voiceover cursor.
When an item has a help tag, do nothing. When an item has a help tag, pop-up button.
When an item has a help tag, I was actually playing around with this because in Braille it was showing me some help tags that I really didn't want, but no matter what I said, it didn't affect what was happening. So I would actually set it to
speak notification. Speak help.
Either speak notification or speak help. Yours may actually be saying speak help. But if you had the notification,
speak notification,
then you would just be notified that there's a help tag available. And sometimes a help tag can be useful. It's it explains what an option does.
Speak help.
So you might actually want to have speak help.
Speak help. When an item has a help tag, pop-up button. Choose how to announce an item's help tag.
Okay, there you go. Choose how to announce an item's help tag. That is itself a help tag.
When an item has custom actions. Speak help. When an item has custom actions, pop-up button.
When an item
Choose how to announce an item's available custom actions.
Okay, now I've got to pause for the help thing here. And again, custom actions is more in play in Big Sur with the VoiceOver Actions command, VO command space.
Speak hints after delay. 0 seconds. Speak hints after delay slider.
Okay, if you have the instructions for using the item in the VoiceOver cursor enabled, or even this help, you can specify the delay. So how long after pressing the command does VoiceOver wait to speak the instructions?
Short. 0 seconds. Speak hints after delay slider.
And you can
set how long to wait before hints are spoken.
Interact with the slider. With VO Shift down arrow. And then VO right.
0 seconds. 1 second. 1 second.
To increase.
2 seconds.
It's taking a little bit, a few presses.
1 second. 1 second.
Or
2
you can
seconds.
also use
0 seconds.
VO up and VO down. So VO left and right or up and down. It doesn't matter. When you're done adjusting it, you can uninteract with VO Shift
out of
up
slider.
arrow.
Short. Long help button.
And there we go. That is finally all the way through VoiceOver Verbosity.
Toolbar.
Okay.
VoiceOver Utility categories table.
Moving on.
Verbosity. Select speech.
Speech. Here we go.
Voices selected tab.
There are two things in speech. One, I'd like to show you how you can download voices, and two, what not to do in adjusting. So you can adjust rate and different things here. But you could accidentally adjust it for all these other different voices, and that might cause some problems. So
pronunciation tab 2 of 2.
In speech, you also have pronunciation, so you can add a word to the pronunciation dictionary. I have tried and tried and tried to teach VoiceOver how to say Sandhya, for example, or Sandhya. And the only voice that actually says it right is the Indian voice. So anyway. That's just one example.
Mute speech unchecked. Checkbox.
Okay, we can mute speech, which we don't want to do. Remember, you can do a 3-finger double tap on the trackpad, or you could create a keyboard command for the keyboard commander.
Customized language list table.
Okay, customized language list. We actually do want to interact in this table because there is more than one item in each row. When we were in the categories table, it was just, one category per line, so to speak. But in this table with the voices, there are a couple of things, so we want to interact.
In customized language list table, language, default, column 1, row 1.
So if I've interacted, and then if I VO right.
English. Voice, Ava voice pop-up button, column 2,
and
row
then
2.
here I can
Choose
VO
the voice
space
to use for voiceover.
because it's a button, so I'll VO space.
Menu check mark, Ava.
Or I could have pressed space.
Samantha. Siri female. Susan, Vicky, Unite, Siri, Matt, Tom,
So what I'm
customize ellipsis.
Is customize, and I was just VO down arrowing here because I already had my fingers on VO. And so I'll just press enter.
In search dialog, search text field.
So
Blank.
you could actually
Select
search for a voice that you want, or
voices table.
we could go into this voices table. We don't need to interact unless we want to actually hear the sample of that voice. So sometimes, you could interact or not, but whether you interact depends on what you need from the table.
Agnes, uncheck checkbox. Allison, check checkbox.
All right.
Allison compact, uncheck checkbox.
So if we let's say we wanted to hear what Allison compact sounds like. I don't really use the compact voices. I would interact.
In voices table. Allison compact, uncheck checkbox.
And then
selected. Allison compact, uncheck checkbox.
Interact
Row
again
4.
in the specific voice.
In Allison compact,
and
uncheck
then
checkbox.
VO right.
Allison compact. Allison compact.
Actually not.
Ava, check. Allison compact, uncheck checkbox.
Oh, that's right. Okay. In this table, you actually, I thought the play button was inside the table. But it's actually outside the table. Button. And so then if I was to just press space on play.
Hello, my name is Allison. I am an American English voice.
All right. So again, you could go through the table. We don't
Allison
need to interact.
Ava, Kathy, Princess, Samantha, Siri female, Susan, check, Susan, Vicky, Victoria, Alex, uncheck checkbox.
We have Alex, of course, so we can just VO right.
Play button.
And press space.
Most people recognize me by my voice.
And so there you go. If we actually wanted
Alex,
to download him, I would press space to check the box. And notice I'm not, I'm on the actual checkbox or the area with the checkbox. So pressing space doesn't cause it to play because I have not put focus on my play button.
Alex compact, uncheck checkbox.
Okay. Sometimes you need to press VO space. For whatever reason, space was not working. So if you want to have a more surefire way.
Susan, checkbox.
Okay. Well, this thing is being jumpy on
table.
me. So
Siri,
let's
female,
see.
Susan, Vicky, Victoria, English, Alex, uncheck checkbox.
All right. Maybe in this table, we actually do need to interact and press VO space. To check the box there. I should have practiced this area a little bit more.
Alex will be downloaded. Checkbox.
So
Action
there we go.
Button.
It will be downloaded. So what you want to do is if you want to check any of these, interact with the table and then press VO space. Okay.
Alex compact, uncheck checkbox. Alex will be downloaded.
But I don't really want to download him, so I'm going to press VO space to uncheck.
Unchecked. Alex compact, Bruce, uncheck, Fred, uncheck, Junior, uncheck.
These are some of the novelty voices.
Ralph, Siri mail, checkbox.
I'm just pressing VO down since I'm already
Siri
in the
mail
table.
Compact, Tom, check, Tom compact, English Unite Albert, bad nib, bells,
all right.
boring,
These are the novelty
bubbles,
voices.
cellos,
So
terrain, good nib, hysterical, pipe organ,
you could just keep
Trinoy,
going
whisper,
through.
Zarv, Arab, Layla, uncheck,
You
Arabic,
also
Saudi
have
Arabia,
all the different languages, Arabic, Chinese, whatever the case
out of voices
is. So
table.
When you're done making adjustments,
Play button, cancel, OK button, default.
You would go to OK.
Customized language list table.
But what we actually want to do is go back into the table.
Customized language list table, language, English, column 1, voice, Ava voice pop-up button, rate, 50 rate, 49.5%
and so
rate stepper,
here,
column 3,
we could
row
adjust
2.
the rate. I could open the stepper or interact with VO shift down arrow.
50, 50, on 50, 49.5%. Rate. Step 50.
So
Content
here I
selected.
could actually type in something. I could press delete
Selection
key
deleted.
to delete and just type in, let's say, I don't know, 62.
62.
Just to be random. And then VO right.
61.6%. Rate 62. Stepper.
Ah, okay. So that's the problem you have, with the different voices. I am going to set it back to 50. But let's say I want to do that with the stepper. I would
stepper.
interact and then do VO down.
60.6%. 59. Rate 53. 52.5%.
Okay, and we're going kind of slow. If I was to...
Out
so
of
I'm
stepper.
just going to go
53.
back
Content selected. Rate.
and
Edit
type
text.
50. It did say selected, so I can just type over
Selection
it.
replaced. 50.
50.
Rate 50. Content selected. Rate. Edit
Okay.
text. 40.
And
40
there
out
we
of
go. That's the
50.
rate.
Edit button. Edit button.
And so then,
Rate. Voice.
if we
Language.
wanted to
English. Voice. Rate.
adjust
Edit
even
button.
more options,
Column
we could
4.
go into
Row
edit.
2. In dialog. Ava. Default. Voice. Pop-up button.
Okay,
Voice
and
settings
so
for default system language.
Here
Category.
we have the voice settings for default system
Default.
language. But if you keep
Ava.
going,
Default 50. 49.45. 49.5%. Default rate. Stepper.
so this is the stepper.
45. Content selected. Default pitch. Edit text.
And unfortunately, sometimes the values in the edit box differ from the ones in the
44.4%.
stepper.
Default
for
pitch.
some
Stepper.
weird reason.
100. Content selected. Default volume. Edit text.
Somehow my volume got set to 100.
44.
Normally
100.
I keep that
Content
a little
select
bit lower.
100%. Default volume 55. Content selected. Default intonation. Edit 54.5%. Additional voice options. Collapsed disclosure triangle.
All right. So then you have additional voice options. If I press VO space.
Expanded. Content.
You have a content voice.
Default voice. Content voice. Pop-up button.
So
50. 40. 50.
we could
40.
keep
100.
going on.
100%. 50. 49. Status. Default
A
voice.
status
49.
voice. So
Status.
if you accidentally adjust the rates for all of these, set them a little bit different, you will have VoiceOver literally driving you crazy because you'll have things kind of speaking over one another or speaking at the same time.
40. 50. 100%. 100.
So
49.
it
50.
only
40. 50.
adjusts.
Content.
Actually, I'm going to go to the beginning with VO Home.
Voice settings for default system language.
Okay.
Voice set category. Voice. Rate.
And
Pitch.
I am going to
Volume. Intonation. Default. Ava. 50. 40. 45.
go back to
44.4%.
collapse that
100. 100%.
area.
55. 50. Additional content. Additional voice options.
Additional
Expanded.
voice options.
Disclosure
I'm gonna
triangle.
press VO space.
Collapsed.
To collapse. And there we go. Now, if I messed up all these voices, if I set some weird things, I can reset my settings
Menu bar. Apple.
in VoiceOver. And the way you do that is going into the File menu.
VoiceOver file. File. Import preferences. Ellipsis. Reset custom VoiceOver preferences. Submenu.
To reset custom VoiceOver preferences, press right arrow.
Reset custom VoiceOver preferences. Submenu. Activities. Ellipsis. Dimmed. Braille display input keys. Ellipsis. Dimmed. Hotspots. Ellipsis.
And so
dimmed.
then you can choose
Keyboard
which one of
commander keys.
these you can
Hot
reset.
keyboard commander keys. Ellipsis. Dimmed. Labels. Ellipsis. Dimmed. Numpad pronunciations.
these are
Ellipsis.
dimmed
Quick
because
enough.
I
Trackpad
haven't
commander gestures. Ellipsis. Dimmed.
Set any of these, but if I press left arrow,
Import preferences. Ellipsis. Reset
And
custom
then-
VoiceOver preferences. Submenu. Reset all VoiceOver preferences.
okay,
Ellipsis.
there we
dimmed.
go. We can reset all VoiceOver preferences.
Additional voice
and
options.
let's see.
OK button. Default.
It's probably dimmed because we didn't find the OK button.
Customize-
Most of the time in system preferences, you do not have an OK
January
button.
12th, 8:23 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Zoom us.
Wow. I apologize, everyone.
us.
We have gone quite a bit over.
You are sharing
I will keep this in mind next
Stop
time.
share button. Mute all project.
Why don't we open it up
You
for
are sharing
questions?
computer sound.
And I do apologize if you're still there.
This is Dorothy.
Jason?
Yeah, Dorothy and Dorothy and then Jason.
Okay, can I ask a question of just something I need you to tell me how to do?
Of course, sure.
Okay, because it's not in our lesson, but for daily use, I need to know what VO or command key to hit to forward and send emails.
All right. So that is a Mac command. And so I would look in the, I'll tell you, but I'll also tell you that you can find these things in the menu bar. So to forward, it's Command Shift F. To send is Command Shift D. But if you want to know, if you can't remember that, you would just go into the Mail app and go to the menu bar and go to Message, and then open that menu, and you will find those, and you can just press Enter or VO space, whatever on the one you want. And that does the same thing.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Yes?
Marion?
Yeah, Marion, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, don't worry about going over, but I had a hard time absorbing all of that. So I'll look forward to listening to it again.
Yes, I know. I do
going through the questions will really be helpful.
Yeah,
too.
this lesson is kind of a lot of material. So,
I think Jason had a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jason. Thank you for reminding me, Jason.
Oh, you're good. My audio cut out for a little bit, so I apologize if you already answered this. But I was wondering if you could explain the difference between the VO Shift M command and a VO, I guess a VO command spacebar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, VO Shift M brings
like
up
a right click, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like a right click. It brings up more of the menu, specifically for an item, like the context menu. So let's say open, copy, paste, whatever. VO command space is just a way to go into the voiceover action. So sometimes it will say, if you down arrow, there'll be a show menu option. That can be included in voiceover actions, but sometimes it's not. Like when we were in Bluetooth and Control Center, it just said show details. And so we did that. So the voiceover actions menu is just kind of telling you more generally what actions you can take on an item, including either activating it or going into the context menu or finding other options, whereas the context menu applies more specifically to to ways you can take action on the item in focus.
Okay.
Kind of. It's hopefully it becomes clear. The voiceover actions menu is, like I said, it's been around for a while, but I'm not. I've really only started using it in Big Sur because that's where it's been necessary. So, yep.
This is Nancy.
Yes, Nancy.
This question is a little bit off topic. I wish I would have remembered to ask you before class. I'm getting in notifications. I'm getting this thing that says what does it say? I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's unable to download movie or whatever.
Okay.
Trying to update. It's trying to update and it's not able to install it. And I've tried VO Shift down arrow to interact with it. I cannot seem to get this message to go away. It's stuck. It won't download this thing, but I can't make it shut up and quit saying it.
Okay.
Recommendations.
Well, you might try the actions, so VO command space, and then sometimes in the notification center, even if I do deal with something, VoiceOver acts like it's still there. But if you do VO shift up arrow a couple times, then it is gone. But it sounds like it's this update that's just not going away. So I would try VO command space to see what your actions are there. Also, you could try bringing it up as a system with VO F1 to see if it's like a system dialog. But it sounds like it's getting in your notification center.
Yeah, I guess it's just stuck there, and I cannot figure out how to make it. It's like, where's the close? There used to be a close button if you went VO left arrow, and I can't find it.
I know. So that's why you have to do VO command space, and then you should see an item in there to close or press or whatever.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Rita.
Yes, Rita.
In the voiceover utilities, when you were navigating through the speech options, is it possible to set different voices for different apps? Like, if you open your messages app, you could have Ava, and if you opened your
that would be nice. That would be nice. Well, actually, yes, you can. So we haven't talked about it, but there is voiceover activities. So you could design a messages activity, or sometimes I think of it as like a proofreading activity in Word or whatever app. It doesn't have to be app specific. It could just be an activity. You could assign it. So let's say for reading through documents carefully, proofreading, you wanted to decrease the rate. You wanted to have all punctuation spoken, things like that. Maybe for Safari, you want it to read in a compact voice, have quick nav on, not read punctuation. You can create activities. So they can be app specific, or you can just have a list of voiceover utilities activities that you can bring up whenever and apply to any app. So.
And this is in the voiceover utilities menu.
Yeah, activities is the last. I think it's the last category there.
Okay, and I'm noticing when I'm trying to edit, if I put hyphen, like say I'm starting a new section and I put some hyphens or some equals to as like line spacing, to next section, VoiceOver's not reading those. Is that under VoiceOver Utilities punctuation?
Yeah, well, what you could do is when you're in a document like that, the simple thing is just to press VO and the letter V.
Punctuation menu for
items.
items.
So I'm on punctuation, but if you weren't, you could just press left or right arrow until you get there. Again, this menu loops around, so it doesn't matter. And then once you find the menu you want, you could press down arrow or up arrow.
None. All modified.
So it's on
all modified.
It's now on all modified. If
None.
I up arrow,
some
was on some.
All.
I could put it on all and then press enter.
Stop adjusting.
Or you can really press any key to escape and it will accept whatever you selected.
Okay, so for example, if I press VO and the letter V is in victory, and then I go to the all. Okay, so if I want, and then how do I get it to stay on all? Do I hit enter or does it default?
You can hit enter. That's what I do, or really any key. Even if you hit escape, it'll still accept your change.
So it's highlighted on what you left it at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Great.
But you may need to press, one of the left or right arrows to get to punctuation if you're not already there. And then. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And
I've got another question whenever you're.
Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah. Some of these we want to do before class, but yeah, go ahead. Who's gonna?
I know you talked about this last week, but QuickNav. What? I see you use the VO keys a lot, and when I've had QuickNav on, I don't have to use those as much. So I'm trying to figure out. But I thought you said something about you still have to use them even if QuickNav's on. So can you explain QuickNav for me?
Okay. Well, QuickNav basically allows you to. It's really best to use in Safari, and it allows you to not have to use the arrows to move to, let's say, the next item, the previous item. You wouldn't if. I personally don't really, in Safari, it's great for, let's say, if, moving by heading or link or whatever, if you use the QuickNav rotor, because you can, so it's, some people like to use it everywhere. I don't, because most of the time, I can get away with just using the arrow keys by themselves, whether I'm in Finder, Mail, the VoiceOver utility. You use the arrows by themselves to kind of navigate through lists or menus, but when you're moving through a dialogue, then you would use the VO and the arrow keys. Or if you wanted to have QuickNav on, you could turn it on and then just use the arrow keys.
So I
it
guess that's what I'm
depends.
saying. If you have QuickNav on, seems like you could use your arrow keys all the time, right? Or if you tab, because that
Well,
seems to
the
be
thing
way
is,
it
you
works.
may have to interact more. That's the thing.
Okay.
Because it's like holding down the VO key, and sometimes the VO keys don't work properly in an area unless you interact. Whereas if you're just
Okay.
using like the arrow keys in a list, many times you don't need to interact. So it's
Okay.
all about how you want to navigate your computer. I know it's confusing.
And I guess I'm thinking what's happening with me is because I use the arrow keys an awful lot, and if I'm in QuickNav, then I can use the down and the right arrow together to interact, and the down and the left arrow to stop, and it's all, my hand's already there.
Right.
So no VO keys. So okay. I think
but you don't need to use VO keys. Even if you had QuickNav off, you don't need to use them, in a list or a menu. That is pretty safe to say. So, yep. All right. Oops.
Okay.
Well, I stopped the share, but there we go. Any other? Well, actually, it would be a great place to end if we can. But if you have questions, don't forget about our class email list. And then if you can come early next time, or I guess if some of you can't make it early, then we'll have to think about other times. But it's definitely best if you can try to come to class at 6:30 if you have questions. So, all right. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you next week. And I'll get some of these questions out.
Thank you, Chanel. Have an awesome week.
You too. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much for volunteering to do this, Chanel.
Oh, no
it's
problem.
Awesome.
Thank
it's
you.
amazing.
Well, thank you for coming to listen. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Everybody.
Good night.
Stop recording. Note.